Hey everyone, it's Aliah Henry, and you're listening to The Aliah Henry Show. Expect to hear insightful interviews and panel discussions covering community, entrepreneurship, health, and women's empowerment. Don't miss out. Keep listening. The Aliah Henry Show is up next. Faith, family, and life after football. Today I'm sitting down and getting up close and personal with Corey Webster, former NFL New York Giants cornerback. We'll chat about his entrepreneurial journey and how he has settled into life after the love of his favorite game. Don't go anywhere. The Aliah Henry Show is up next. Well, hey, Corey, I am so excited to have you in the studio and excited to just have some time to visit with you. We actually met, I think it's almost been a year.
I think so.
Right at a year. And so I will tell you, I was initially drawn, and actually we met through your wife, Teclina. Yes. She is amazing. And but when I met you, I was just so comfortable. You have this just grace glow, right? About you. You make it very easy to talk to you, and you were so humble about your career, your family, and just think you're so inspirational. And I followed you since then, kept in touch with Teclina, and so it's really great just to have you here and just talk a little bit about life and after football.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here. The wife don't get on us. She have a tough name though, but it's Tecliana.
Tecliana.
It's great though. That's everybody. We call her Tech for short, T-E-K. That keeps all that down. But now it's I think it's great, and we're supposed to be approachable. We're supposed to be we're inspiration, we're motivation, whether we want to be or not. Yeah. You're a role model, so I think it's great to have people interact with you and be able to share your story and make people feel comfortable, or just make people that much better when you in their presence. So that's what we're trying to strive for each and every day, and I think that's like doing a random act of kindness to just make the world a better place.
Yeah. So now this is just it's so interesting because NFL cornerback. Played for the New York Giants, 9 seasons. Yes. 9 seasons is a lot for your position, right? And then you got 2 Super Bowls under your belt. That's a great career. Tell me a little bit about what do you think has been your greatest highlight of your professional football career?
You said 9 seasons. Yes, the NFL stands for not for long.
And, love it. Yes, I think that's probably the first time I heard that. Okay.
That's the average career is normally like 2.5 years. So to be blessed,
there's a lot of wear and tear on your body.
It's a violent game. It's the most violent sport. It's modern day kind of I forgot what they call it. Fighting in as far as the modern day heroes, the modern day Iron Man game. Mm-hmm. So to be able to play 9 seasons and to have all this information we have on CTE, but still get ahead of it, retire, still healthy, to be able to play and move around with the family, I think that was important. But picking the one specific thing out of, I just have to say, out of the career, the professional career, I have to say just the journey, just the process. Being able to take the ups and the downs, but also being able to learn from the process and transitioning that to everyday life. Mm-hmm. Sports, I think it's a metaphor for life. And so many people use that. So me being into it, I wanted to be able to take the process, the understanding, the accountability, the responsibility, all those big words that we don't like to talk about in everyday life, but being able to take that from sports and transition that into family life or life after the game or just life outside of sports. Yeah. So that was the main thing that I took, the journey, the process. Now, I was blessed to be a part of 2 Super Bowls. That's, I'm not saying it's unheard of, but that's a big thing, being world champion. And I can't put one.
And you beat the Patriots.
Beat the Patriots twice. Yes, yes,
Beat
yes.
them twice.
beat them twice. So yeah, that's great. That's just a blessing. That's just a testament to, you know, you put hard work in, you pay for it in advance, and then at the end of the day, anything can happen because I'm from a small town, and then you got the Patriots being 18-0, nobody giving you a chance. So you just kind of give the underdog a little motivation, a little inspiration that anything can be accomplished. And like I said, just being able to take all those lessons from the journey, the process, I think that was more important to me than even the Super Bowl. My family is more important than the Super Bowls. The wife, the kids, that's more important than the Super Bowl. But being able to give them those lessons and all those things, those habits that they can use every day is priceless.
So give me, because, you know, it's interesting. I was recently at a youth summit, and it was interesting for kids. And I took my son there. And there was a question from one of the doctors. What do you want to be when you grow up? So he was going around the room. A couple of kids were like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. And many kids said that they wanted to be a professional football player or basketball player. What advice or would you give to our young men who have that dream of becoming a professional football player?
It comes
or
with
athlete.
It comes with a lot. And you know, before you become a professional, you have to be a student athlete. So I would always tell them, always be a complete student athlete. You can't put athlete in front of student. That's why it's called student athlete. So the harder you work at being a great student, the more you become a great student of whatever sport you're playing. And having a balance to that, you know what I mean? And however hard you work at being whatever profession is, whether it's something outside of sports, but work equally as hard in the other areas of your life, because it's only going to make that professional sport or that whatever the journey is that much better. And you're going to have ups and downs. Learn to embrace the toughness. I think a lot of our youngsters now, they run from adversity, or they look for it to be comfortable, or they look for it to be easy. It's not easy. I think the percentage of people from youth making it to the NFL or the NBA is like 0.99%. So it's very, very small that people make it to that level. So I definitely want them to dream big, and I'm never going to take their dreams or the aspiration away from them. But I want them to, you know, be a complete person. You know what I mean? Work hard, just like you would work hard to be a great athlete. I want them to work equally as hard as being a young woman or a young man. And I think that's what makes up a lot of the great athletes that we see today.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. So you also have the Corey Webster Foundation. Many of us know that you travel back. You actually put on summer programs for underprivileged children in your community, also ones held at LSU. Talk a little bit about the goals for the foundation and what you guys have planned this year.
Well, our foundation is MIE. We call it, that's the tours that we do, is motivate, inspire, and empower. So a lot of the times we got 3 initiatives. We have Give Grow, where we raise funds to be able to help out and do things in the community. We also have a reading initiative. We call it Be a Sponge Read. And we have our mentorship program. And a lot of the things that we do at LSU is mentoring, you know, getting kids that normally won't walk on the college campus and just showing it to them, because we had kids right outside of LSU, which is in the South Baton Rouge, that hadn't been on LSU campus or any college campus, and they live, you know, 10 minutes walking distance away from it. Yeah. So just exposing them to that, trying to see what that would do to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Them being on campus, walking to the academic centers, walking to the different colleges on campus, as well as passing by the sports facility as well. But just putting them on campus and letting them talk to the different people that's in place there. We did those things just to see how that inspired me. That did great. So we're going to continue to do those. And then we also do kids that's involved in extracurricular activities. We do we call it 13 Days of Christmas, where we give them a dinner. They get to bring a guest, whether it's one parent, and then they get to pick a few student athletes or people that didn't graduate from college brains and get a meal out of the deal. So funny, those events, the parents normally ask the most questions, and that's cool because you know, you have people that have been there, done that, so they're trying to get the kid ahead of whatever they're going to see in the near future. So that's a couple of things that we do, and we still growing. That's why we in the process of right now of switching it up a little bit. It's called CWF, which is Corey Webster Foundation. We're going to rebrand it and call it, still going to be CWF, but we're going to call it Crawl, Walk, Fly, because we feel like that's what everybody is ultimately trying to do, and that's just progression and just showing that you start one place, you set a goal, you work hard for that goal, you can accomplish those goals, and so that's a little pivot. And we want other individuals to get involved. So it wasn't all about me; it's a bigger picture. You know what I mean? It's about leaving the next generation better than we found it. So that's the pivot we're going to make in the near future with the CWF Foundation.
Well, I think it's so inspiring, to see you as a young African American male. And when you look at other, youth, if they don't see it, they can't be it.
Facts.
And so, you're very inspiring, and your programs, and just as long as you're doing it, obviously other people, will take suit as well. And so, I think it's just important for us. I have a son, so of course, for me, I always think about, he's gonna see his mom. He's gonna know who his mama is, and his mama's gonna love and encourage him. He's gonna see his dad, but all the things that his dad does, he's gonna emulate that. And he loves that, And so, as parents, we want to make sure. But as we're always giving really good, we're there to pick them up when they fall, give them that advice, all those great things. But the outside world isn't all that excited to see our young Black men coming, walking down the street, in an elevator, all of those things, at the mall. And so, making sure that, they are raised in an understanding of who they are, what they can be, and striving. You talked a lot about being the student before the athlete. They gotta have the brains, to first, that's the big piece.
Well, I got 3 boys as well, so I thought it was important not just to, just blurt out information to them. I thought it was vitally important for me to be able to walk the walk as well. So I didn't want to be, a lot of the time when we was growing up, it was do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. So I wanted to be able to change that a little bit, and also set the standards as far as my example and what I'm showing them every day, and as well as being able to talk the language to them as well. So, and that's just the era I think that we're in. I think with the power of social media, with the power of, all these platforms that we have, I think it's important to be able to show them what they can be, and show them that you're holding yourself to a higher standard. So that keeps me, always seeking knowledge. I think that's another thing that's important to my success. I'm constantly learning, constantly seeking ways that I can get better, I can improve myself. But I also understand that I can learn from anybody. I can learn from a kid, I can learn from adults, it doesn't matter. Now, the thing is what you learn, meaning you can learn what to do or you can learn what not to do. So, being able to pick that up and, just embracing it all. And that's been a sort of, the foundation to me being successful as well. Just being a student of everything. That's
good. So, and you actually rolled into my next question. So, you're a father, you're a husband, and you and Tekliana.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all met. I heard y'all met when you were about 5 years old.
Yes.
Talk about, we all have that first love, right? We've all watched those movies where and you guys have been married a long time, and you've been on this journey. You've had a professional football career, which for some, it doesn't look that great to, be on and off the court, still married. What's the success? What do you think contributes to that long-standing commitment and that relationship?
I think, for one, just it's bigger than me. It's not just about me. And sometimes we get lost in that, especially when the cameras are on you all the time. Yeah. You start to think that it's all about you, but always keeping the bigger picture at hand. It's bigger than me. I don't want to do anything that embarrasses my wife. I don't want to do anything that embarrasses my kids. So being able to just have them in mind when a decision is being made and putting them at the forefront of it all the time, that kind of helps you. And then in the locker room, you start to have great guys that's trying to do that, but for whatever reason, they can't find it or whatever the case may be, and them letting you know how special you have it. You know what I mean? Having those special guys. I remember a guy, he was a little older than me. I found him and I met him at the Giants. His name was Osi Umeyor. He's one of the Giants great, but he was also from Africa. And he moved over here, I think, only to go to high school. But he just told me how great I am. And I wasn't understanding it at the time, but I'm like, what are you talking about? He actually took me on a trip to Africa with him as well. So that was life-changing as well, outside of everything else. But he was always telling me about it was hard for him to trust anybody. Not to say that the woman, wasn't trustworthy, but just where he had made it to now, looking for a wife and looking for a significant other, he said it was tough. And he was another guy from here, that's DeMarcus Ware. Oh, yeah. He had been with his wife since high school or whatever. He said, y'all lucky, you lucky. So started to, have people around me like that that's telling me that. And then not taking that for granted, because you can take a person for granted that you've been around that long. You know what I mean? So just keeping it fresh by, she's a new person every day, just like I'm a new person every day if we're trying to evolve, because the only thing consistent is change. So keeping up with the changes of her and seeing where she's evolved to today, and vice versa, accepting her new where she is today, and she doing that to me. So it just kind of keeps it fresh, because it's not really the same person, because we all growing now. So we could be going backwards. Yeah. But I'm one of those person that want to learn from the mistakes. So how do you learn from the mistakes? Add it so it never happens again. You know what I mean? We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we love each other perfectly. Yeah, and I think that's the key of just keeping it, keeping it fresh, keeping it new, as well as being successful. You know what I mean? I have to learn every day. I have to date her constantly. It's not something that you could just do and just get in the flow of it and just be redundant, and she is cool with it now. I think it's important to keep it fresh, keep it new, but also meet them where they're at.
That's good. That's great. So, as the father of 3 boys, what's the hardest part about being a parent?
And I don't say it's hard. It's just challenging, you know what I mean? There's no owner's manual that comes with, you know what I
know. My husband and I were thinking the same thing. I was like, how do we fix that part?
You know what I mean? No
where did that question come from?
So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I think people did a great job raising me. So I'll often go back to those and just ask them, you know what I mean, what's different, what's new, and then how can I apply what's different and new? We didn't have social media or internet growing up, you know? So how do you, kind of apply what you've learned from them to the internet? Because I feel like the bridge between, the cultures or the generations, a generational gap. So how do I take what they have taught us, put it into today's society, and be able to use it through the internet, through social media and things of that nature? As well as a coach told me, and I use this with my family and the people that I'm around, he said, I want to get it right. Everybody will get treated fairly, but everybody won't get treated the same. So meaning what works for the oldest kid may not work for the middle kid, may not work for my youngest kid, you know what I mean? But everybody will get treated fairly, because, you know my heart. My intentions are good. My intentions are pure. And that's explaining or taking the time to explain that to each individual kid. So, the oldest, he gets on me a little bit, because the younger one may get away with a little more, So he reminds me about that. I don't get on him when he reminds me about that. I just tell him that's progression, that's growth. And I also tell him that I appreciate the journey that he took me from, because he made me a better place. He made me a better person, a better father, a better man in general. So just understanding that you're seeking, how each one of them is kind of programmed, how they're wired, and being able to have the patience to rewire them as many times as necessary, I would say it'll be the challenge.
That's good. So, when you were a kid, what would have been your favorite, thing to do? Outside of football.
Yeah, I was very active. So, riding 4-wheelers and being outside was a big thing of mine. We do it all now. So, outside of sports, I'm going to be on the ATV. I'm going to be on a dirt bike. I'm going to probably be doing something that I may not should be doing, as far as, the ride, the tricks and different things like that. So
I almost flipped the ATV.
Yeah.
In Cabo. Yeah. I did. I sure did.
So, see, I normally advise people, if you don't ride them every day.
I was riding. That thing was just going and going.
Yes. I kind of talk friends don't just get on them if you don't ride them every day. Don't just go to Cabo. Don't just take a trip.
They were fun.
4-wheelers, daddy, on the beach. Let's just jump on them. You know? So I would be that friend, I guess, be a party pooper. Like, nah, let's not do that. But I've been riding them since I was 4. You know what I mean? I've been riding them since, and we pass them on to the kids. So if I wasn't doing anything with school or sports, I'd be on the ATV.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. So what do you do to keep yourself balanced? You know, because now, I mean, and everybody has to retire from something at some point. So, and you've been out of the game for a little bit, but what keeps you balanced? What do you like?
I think just in the beginning, I was a basketball player first. Mm-hmm. So coming out of high school, being recruited, I was a basketball player. I never played cornerback until I got to LSU. So that's the whole story, you know what I mean? But so I was, my first love was basketball.
Okay.
Basketball kind of brought football about, coincidentally. So Nick Saban, who is Alabama right now, was at LSU. He would always come to my basketball games. He never came to a football game. So he would always, and in terminology, he would speak to me on the field like a basketball player. So I just never let anyone put a box around me from the beginning. I always knew I could be great at basketball and I could be great at football. And he helped me with that, helped me understand that by speaking basketball terminology to me. And,
that's a good coach, though, because he knew you.
Yes.
He watched you enough to know exactly how to communicate the message. Again,
that was the message that he gave me. Yeah. Everybody won't get treated the same, but everybody will get treated fairly. Yeah. I have to know what makes each individual on this team go, and it's not surprising that he has the success that he has. You know, national championship at LSU, built a program over there, went to Alabama. Now, we don't too much like Alabama. You know, that's the kind of, but I got to respect what he's doing. Going to Alabama, winning 6 to 8. I don't even want to lie to you how many championships he has now. But, so I already kind of had that balance because you couldn't tell me that I wasn't great in basketball. Yeah. And I hadn't played the position coming into college that I made a profession out of. Yeah. So I learned that in college because when I first got to college, I played receiver. Okay. So I was able to play receiver for the first 2 years. And in the second year, I moved over to cornerback. And, the rest is history. I ended up playing 3 years at cornerback at LSU. We did win the BCS championship with LSU too. And then getting drafted and playing 9 years at cornerback and winning 2 Super Bowls. So you couldn't really put a box on me then. Yeah. So when it was time to retire, walk away from the game, I wanted to be great in all those other hats that I wore. Mm-hmm. And I just took the lessons from those 2 and applied to being a husband, being a father, being a son, being a brother, and all those other different categories. So I had a little bit of that because of basketball and from sports, basketball and football. But after the game, it gave me more time to be able to use the lessons that I've learned in those sports to be able to be that in other areas of my life. And I think that's what made me balance. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. So what's your self-care regimen like? I mean, do you still keep that up?
I do. That's another thing that you picked up because coming from my high school, I wasn't, even my community, you didn't see people working out or doing things like that or eating healthy. I'm from Louisiana.
I know, I saw that fried fish.
Yeah, so we don't eat. We eat great, but it's not great for the health. You know what I mean? So
it look good to me. It looks good.
So again, just being a part of those institutions, LSU, having nutritionists, I never had that before, and learning from them. You know what I mean? Learning how the plate should look. And then being able to add that to you. So, Father Time is undefeated, but I'm going to try to put off as long as we can by, putting the right food in our mouth or just putting the right food in our diet. And when I call diet, is everything that's around you, what you see, what you hear, along with what you eat. It is, what I mean?
That's good.
So being mindful of, avoiding some of the negativity or that you see even on social media. I don't want somebody to just be able to surprise me with some foolishness that's going to make me feel some type of way about myself. So being cognizant of the full frame of your diet, not just what we eat, and then taking some of the lessons like, working out and being active from sports. And
but you and your wife are both pretty active with.
Yeah, we work out together.
Y'all work out. I've seen you guys do that. That's pretty cool.
So working out together, learning, eating things from each other, then passing that on to the kids. Again, that's another thing. If they see us working out, it's just second nature for them. You know what I mean? It almost become, unconsciously competent in those different areas. So that would keep me motivated. The youth, you know what I mean? Being able to pass it to the youth. And, that's how I keep up with the self-care and the things of that nature.
That's cool. That is so cool. So tell me, so who's the more stricter parent? You or Ted?
I think they would put it on me. I'm also fun, okay. Because just taking that sports, and I had to learn that. I had to tone it down because every coach that I had was a yeller, a screamer. So I'm like, man, we're not going to do that as far as being a parent. You know what I mean? We're going to learn from that. We're not going to be yelling and screaming. We're not going to, try to chastise them in those type of ways. We're going to try to, talk and do things like that. But attention to detail, that's just my thing. Yeah. So they're going to be like, how he don't forget, you know what I mean? He don't forget the little things, you know what I mean? He don't forget them. I kind of thrive off of that. So I think they would say I'm the stricter parent.
That's funny.
But I also think they could say I'm the fun parent too because of the ATVs and all the activities you get to do, around me.
That's cool. That's cool. So if you had to pick your favorite song, what would it be?
Favorite song right now, D1. Anything that D1 makes. D1 is a musical artist from Louisiana, and all of his great talent, not just because it's positive, but it's positive, no cursing, substance mixed with being very talented. And everything that he makes, I think, is a hit.
That's cool. That's very cool. So if you could leave our audience with one or two insights about living your best life, what would it be?
I think it would be, one thing that I did, I never stopped. You know what I mean? It was times where I was faced to, I wanted to quit or I wanted to do this. It was 3 times I wanted to walk away from football. One being my freshman year at LSU, and then one being my freshman year in high school, and then Little League. 3 times I wanted to walk away from football. So that just tells you I never stopped. I stuck with it. Quitters never win, winners never quit. I know it's a saying that's been around for a while, but it's true. And never stop. Keep pushing forward, especially if you're doing things that's positive and that's not negative to yourself or detrimental to the people around you. Keep pushing, and to embrace the struggle. Don't shut it down when it get a little tough. Don't shut it down. Know that that's the breakthrough. If you're able to go through the struggle, go through the tough times, all of the success or all of the lessons learned is right on the other side of that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it has been a pleasure. Likewise. I'm so glad to see you guys again and see your family. And this has just been great. And I appreciate you spending some time with us and being on our show today.
Likewise. I appreciate you having me. Hopefully we can do this again.
No, I would love to. We could be co-hosted.
I like it.
Maybe have an extension and do like a sports show too.
There you go.
All right. Well, thanks y'all for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening to the Aliah Henry Show. Remember, be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you've always imagined. See you next time.